Have you ever felt the sting of being unseen, as if you're standing in a crowded room screaming but somehow you're invisible? Like you're a shadow, a ghost, something overlooked and forgotten. It's as if no matter how much you crave a sliver of acknowledgement, it just doesn't come. They treat you like an old discarded book, something once glanced at now collecting dust. You sit there, drowning in your thoughts, asking yourself, why don't they notice me? What did I do wrong? What's missing in me? Let me stop you right there, because you're asking the wrong questions. If someone is ignoring you, it's not your problem. It's a reflection of their perspective, not your worth. But here's the real catch. You might actually be ignoring yourself. That's where the problem lies. Here's a brutal truth you need to hear. People only dismiss what they think they can afford to lose. They don't see what's beneath the surface, but that's not the end of the story. What they don't realize is that you are so much more. Beneath their indifference lies your hidden storm, your untapped potential, and today might just be the day it erupts. They underestimated you. They saw the surface and ignored the depth. But this isn't their story. It's yours. That storm brewing inside you. That's your power. It's your moment of evolution, the comeback they never saw coming. And when it arrives, it's going to make them question why they ever dared to overlook you. Here's the truth about being ignored. It's a gift in disguise. It's a golden key they hand to you without even knowing it. That key unlocks a door to a strength they couldn't imagine you had. Every cold shoulder, every slight, every dismissive glance, it's not breaking you, it's forging you. Like a diamond buried in the dirt, crushed under pressure and refined by fire, you're being shaped into something extraordinary. The question isn't whether the pressure will come. It's whether you will rise or crumble beneath it. Stop begging. Stop pleading for someone to see you. Don't give away your power by asking someone else to validate your existence. Begging doesn't make you worthy. It only makes you smaller. Let me tell you something vital. Desperation erases value. When you're pleading for attention, you're not shining. You're dimming your own light. Nobody is drawn to desperation. People aren't captivated by someone begging for scraps of validation. You're not here to be pitied. You're here to command respect. You might feel tempted to question, what did I do wrong? Or how can I fix this? But the reality is that their ignorance isn't your burden to carry. If they've treated you like an afterthought, why waste another second of your energy on them? Their indifference reflects their limitations, not yours. You have something they don't see, your potential to rise. If they can't recognize your value now, it's their loss, not yours. Their ignorance is fuel for your fire. While they dismiss you, you build yourself. You sharpen your edges, polish your brilliance, and stand taller. Think of an eagle soaring high above the storm, using the winds of chaos to rise higher. That's you, not begging for the storm to end, but thriving because of it. Every moment you focus on their indifference is a moment stolen from your growth. Their lack of acknowledgement doesn't define your worth. You do. Stop dimming your light to match their shadows. Shine so brightly that their blindness becomes irrelevant. The most dangerous person in any room isn't the one who's noticed. It's the one quietly evolving, transforming their pain into unstoppable power. That's you. Here's what they don't realize. Every time they overlook you, they're giving you a chance to become someone they can't afford to ignore. They're creating the very version of you that will make them regret ever dismissing you. When you rise, they'll see you. But by then, it'll be too late. This moment, right now, is your choice. Will you let their indifference shatter you, or will you use it to become unshakable? Because the only person who truly needs to see your worth is you. The rest will follow when you no longer need their approval. Start with this affirmation. I rise because I choose to, not because they notice me. Let this be your truth. Let this be the beginning of your comeback. Your value isn't tied to their attention. It's tied to your growth. And when you shift your focus back to yourself, that's when the transformation begins. This is your story, your power, your moment. Write it boldly. Burn it into your mind. You're not here to beg for recognition. You're here to rise so high that their indifference becomes a distant memory. Think about it. Every single moment you spend analyzing their silence, replaying the rejection, or second-guessing your worth, is a moment you're handing them power they don't even realize they have. You're living in a prison of your own creation, the bars made of your doubts, your need for closure, and your fixation on their indifference. But let me ask you this. Why are you giving them so much space in your mind? Why are you letting them live there rent-free while you pay the price? The harsh truth is that obsessing over them won't change a thing. Their indifference won't magically turn into admiration because you've dedicated every waking thought to them. In fact, the more you dwell, the more you shrink, the smaller you become. They don't feel your hurt. They don't carry your burden. You do, and the worst part, they're probably not even thinking about you. Here's what happens when you stop giving them that power. When you evict them from your mind, when you clear the space they've occupied, something incredible takes its place. You, your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, all the things that were buried beneath the weight of their rejection rise to the surface. And when they do, you'll wonder why you ever gave so much of yourself away in the first place. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine your mind as a pristine garden. Every thought you entertain is a seed you plant. Now, if you're constantly replaying their indifference, if you're stuck in a loop of self-doubt and overthinking, what kind of seeds are you planting? Weeds, nothing but weeds. They choke out the beauty, the potential, the brilliance that could have grown there. But when you stop, when you focus on yourself, when you plant seeds of self-worth, self-focus, and determination, that garden transforms. It becomes a sanctuary of growth, of peace, of strength. The truth is, you don't need their attention. You never did. What you need is your own. You need to take the energy you've been wasting on them and pour it into yourself. Stop replaying the past. Stop imagining conversations that will never happen. Stop waiting for them to realize what they lost. They won't. Not because you're not worth it, but because their blindness isn't your responsibility to fix. Instead, imagine this. You take all that energy, all that fire, and you channel it into building yourself. You work on your craft, your goals, your body, your mind. You turn every ounce of pain into progress. You rise so far above their indifference that by the time they look back, you're untouchable. By the time they realize what they overlooked, you're too far ahead for their regret to even reach you. And here's the irony. They will notice. When you stop caring about their attention, that's when it comes. Not because you chased it, but because you became someone too magnetic, too powerful to ignore. But by then, it won't matter. By then, you'll see that their validation was never what you needed. You'll have built a life so full, so rich, so expansive, that their opinion will feel like a whisper against the roar of your own success. The moment you decide to stop giving them free real estate in your mind is the moment you take your power back. It's the moment you stop being a victim of their indifference and start being the architect of your own life. So, how do you start? Every time their image creeps into your thoughts, every time you catch yourself replaying a conversation or wondering why they don't see your worth, stop. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that your mind is sacred ground and they don't belong there. Say to yourself, "This thought doesn't serve me," and then focus on something that does, whether it's a goal, a project, or even just a moment of gratitude for how far you've come. You see, the mind is like a muscle. The more you train it to focus on what matters, the stronger it becomes. The more you redirect your energy to things that build you, the less power those thoughts will hold. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. And when it does, you'll feel it. You'll feel lighter, freer, more focused than you've ever been. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop looking for their acknowledgement, you start finding your own. When you stop waiting for their approval, you start thriving in ways that don't require anyone's permission. Your life becomes yours again. And that's when the real transformation begins. So ask yourself, right now, what's more valuable? The fleeting attention of someone who doesn't see you, or the limitless potential of the person you're becoming? The choice is yours. Choose yourself. Always. Now let's talk about what happens when you finally reclaim your focus. The moment you stop obsessing over them, the moment you decide their opinions, their actions, and their indifference no longer define your worth, that's when everything changes. It's like waking up from a long, draining dream. Suddenly, the energy you've been pouring into analyzing, overthinking, and questioning is back in your hands. And with that energy, you become unstoppable. Think about this. Every time you've replayed their words or actions in your head, you've been giving them a piece of your life. Little by little, you've handed over your moments, your focus, your peace of mind. But what if, instead of giving those pieces away, you gathered them up and built something incredible with them? What if all the energy you wasted on them became the fuel for your transformation? It starts with a choice, a decision to prioritize yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that says, I deserve to be whole. I deserve to grow. I deserve to live a life that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. And once you make that choice, the world opens up. It's like stepping into a room where the air is clearer, the light is brighter, and the possibilities are endless. When you stop chasing their attention, you start discovering parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. You realize you're not as fragile as you thought. You're not defined by their indifference or shaped by their rejection. In fact, you're stronger because of it. The pain they caused? It's a forge, and you are the weapon being shaped in the fire. Every hurt becomes a lesson, every dismissal a stepping stone, every tear a drop of fuel for your rise. But here's the part that most people miss. This transformation isn't about them. It's not about proving them wrong or making them regret overlooking you. It's about you. It's about stepping into your power because you finally see yourself the way you were meant to be seen. When you stop living for their approval, you start living for your own. And that's when you become dangerous, in the best possible way. Think of a seed buried in the ground. At first, it's invisible. It's easy to overlook, easy to dismiss. But under the surface, it's growing. Slowly, quietly, it's gathering strength, breaking through the dirt, reaching for the sun. And when it finally blooms, it's undeniable. That's you. Right now you might feel buried, forgotten, unseen. But you're not buried, you're planted. And the moment you realize that is the moment you start to grow. Here's what growth looks like. It's not flashy or dramatic at first. It's small, deliberate steps. It's choosing to focus on what builds you instead of what breaks you. It's waking up each day and deciding that no matter what happened yesterday, today is an opportunity to be better, stronger, more focused. It's finding joy in your own company, pride in your own accomplishments, and peace in the knowledge that you're no longer tethered to anyone else's opinion. And let me tell you something about people who ignore you. They're not prepared for what happens when you rise. They're comfortable with the version of you that seeks their validation because that version is predictable, manageable. But the version of you that doesn't care about their attention, that version is a force to be reckoned with. That version doesn't beg or plead or wait for permission. That version builds, creates, and conquers. So the next time you feel the sting of being overlooked, use it as fuel. Remind yourself that their indifference isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their inability to see it. And then, focus on the one thing you can control: yourself. Pour your energy into becoming the kind of person who doesn't just survive indifference, but thrives because of it. And here's the beauty of it all. When you stop needing their acknowledgement, you become free. Free to grow, free to shine, free to live a life so full and vibrant that their opinions become irrelevant. That freedom, it's priceless. And once you have it, you'll never give it away again. Now picture this. You're walking through life carrying a heavy bag. It's filled with all the doubts, rejections, and dismissals you've ever received. Every cold glance, every unanswered message, every moment you felt small, each one is a rock weighing you down. And here's the truth. No one put that bag on your shoulders. You picked it up yourself. You chose to carry it because part of you thought it was your responsibility to hold on to those moments, as if by doing so you could somehow make sense of them. But what if I told you it's time to set that bag down? To drop every single rock and walk away lighter, freer, stronger? Because the reality is, you're not obligated to carry their opinions, their actions, or their indifference. The weight you feel, it's self-imposed. And the sooner you let it go, the sooner you can start running toward the life you deserve. You see, so many people spend their lives looking back, replaying the past, analyzing their mistakes, wishing things had gone differently. But here's the thing, the past is a place to learn from, not a place to live in. Every second you spend stuck there is a second you're not moving forward. And let me tell you, forward is where the magic happens. Forward is where you grow, where you thrive, where you become the person they never saw coming. But moving forward requires a shift in mindset. It means recognizing that their rejection isn't the end of your story. In fact, it's just the beginning of a new chapter, one where you stop seeking validation from the outside world and start finding it within yourself. Because at the end of the day, the only opinion that truly matters is your own. Think about the sun for a moment. It rises every single day, no matter what. It doesn't stop shining just because someone forgot to appreciate its warmth. It doesn't dim itself because someone stayed in the shade. It shines because that's what it was made to do. And so are you. Your light, your energy, your potential. It's not dependent on who notices it. It exists because you exist. And the sooner you embrace that truth, the sooner you'll stop needing anyone else to see it. Let's talk about power for a moment. True power isn't about controlling others or demanding their attention. It's about controlling yourself, your thoughts, your actions, your energy. It's about deciding who you want to be and then becoming that person, no matter what anyone else thinks. And here's the best part. When you step into that power, you don't just change your life. You inspire others to do the same. You become a beacon, a force of nature, a reminder that it's possible to rise above anything. But stepping into that power requires a choice, a conscious decision to stop living in reaction to others and start living in alignment with yourself. It means letting go of the need for closure, the desire for revenge, the temptation to prove them wrong, because the truth is, you don't need any of that. You don't need their apologies or their acknowledgement. You don't need to show them what they missed. What you need is to show yourself what you're capable of. And trust me, you're capable of more than you can imagine. You have a fire inside you, a spark that's just waiting to ignite. But that fire can only burn when you stop pouring water on it with your doubts, your fears, and your need for approval. So, stop dimming your light. Stop holding yourself back. Stop giving them the power to dictate your story. Instead, focus on what you can control. Focus on your growth, your goals, your dreams. Focus on becoming the person you've always wanted to be, not for them, but for you. Because at the end of the day, your life is yours to create. And when you start living for yourself, when you start shining for yourself, that's when everything changes. So, let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you decide to put down the bag, to let go of the rocks, to release the weight of their opinions and indifference. Let this be the moment you choose yourself, fully, unapologetically, and without hesitation. Because the world needs your light, your fire, your energy, and the only person who can bring it is you. Imagine standing at a crossroads, a place where you finally have the power to decide what comes next. On one path is the life you've been living, waiting, hoping, and shrinking yourself to fit into the mold of someone else's vision. On the other path is something different. It's unknown, yes, but it's also full of potential. That path is yours to create, to shape, to own. And the question is, which path will you choose? Too many people stay stuck at that crossroads, paralyzed by the fear of moving forward. They cling to the familiar pain of being ignored, rejected, or overlooked because, as painful as it is, it's predictable. It feels safer to dwell in what they know than to risk stepping into the unknown. But let me ask you this. What's the cost of staying where you are? What's the price of holding on to a life that doesn't serve you? The truth is, every day you spend stuck in that cycle is a day you'll never get back. Time doesn't wait. It keeps moving, whether you're ready or not. And if you don't take control of your life, someone else will. That's the harsh reality. The world isn't going to stop for you to catch up. So why waste another moment waiting for someone else to see your worth, when you could be out there building a life that makes their opinion irrelevant? Here's the beauty of choosing your own path. It's not about proving anyone wrong. It's not about making them regret ignoring you. It's about freedom. It's about stepping into your power and finally living for yourself. Because when you do, something incredible happens. You stop needing their acknowledgement. You stop chasing their approval. And in that moment, you become unstoppable. Think of it like this. Your energy is currency. Every thought, every action, every second of focus, it's all part of your wealth. And like any currency, you have a choice in how you spend it. Are you going to waste it on people who don't see your value, or are you going to invest it in yourself? Are you going to pour your energy into their indifference, or are you going to use it to create something extraordinary? Because the reality is, what you focus on grows. If you focus on them, you'll stay stuck in their shadow. But if you focus on yourself, you'll create a light so bright it outshines everything else. And here's the best part. You don't need anyone's permission to start. You don't need their apology, their validation, or their approval. You don't need closure or explanations or second chances. All you need is the decision to begin, to take one small step toward the life you deserve. Because every step forward, no matter how small, is a step away from the pain, the doubts, and the fears that have been holding you back. It's not going to be easy. Growth never is. There will be days when the old doubts creep back in, when the echoes of their rejection feel too loud to ignore. But those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments when you have to dig deep, to remind yourself why you started, to hold on to the vision of the person you're becoming. Because that vision, that's your anchor, that's your guiding light, and no one can take it from you. Let me remind you of something powerful. You are not defined by their indifference. You are not limited by their inability to see your worth. You are so much more than their opinions, their actions, or their rejection. You are potential. You are resilience. You are the storm they didn't see coming. And when you rise, it will be on your terms, not because they noticed, but because you decided it was time. So take that first step. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now start small if you have to. Focus on one thing that brings you joy, one goal that excites you, one habit that moves you closer to the person you want to be. And then keep going, one step at a time, one day at a time. Because every step forward is a declaration, a statement that says, I choose myself. And here's the truth they'll never tell you. The moment you choose yourself, you take back your power. You take back your energy, your focus, your life. You stop being a prisoner of their opinions and start becoming the architect of your own destiny. And that, my friend, is the most powerful thing you can do. As you move forward, something remarkable begins to happen. The weight that once felt unbearable starts to lift. The doubts that consumed your mind grow quieter, and in their place, you feel something new, freedom. It's not the kind of freedom that comes from someone finally noticing you, or apologizing, or validating your existence. No, this freedom comes from within. It's the realization that you don't need any of that to thrive. You never did. You see, for so long, you've been living as if their attention was oxygen, as if their acknowledgement was the air you needed to breathe. But now you understand something deeper. You've had the ability to breathe on your own all along, and once you realize that, there's no going back. You stop looking for their gaze, stop hoping for their validation, and start living for something much bigger, yourself. Think about this. Everything you've been through, every moment of pain and rejection, has brought you here. It has shaped you, taught you, prepared you. Because without those experiences, without the struggle, you wouldn't have the strength you have now. Pain has a way of refining us, of stripping away the unnecessary, of revealing the core of who we are. And who you are is someone far more powerful than you ever realized. When you stop dwelling on what they think of you, something incredible happens. You start discovering what you think of yourself. And that's the only opinion that matters. Because here's the truth, when you know your worth, it doesn't matter who overlooks you. When you're confident in your value, their indifference becomes irrelevant. And when you live for yourself, you stop being an option and start being the main character in your own life. But let's be real, this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. There will be days when the old habits try to pull you back, when the memories of their rejection feel too strong to ignore. On those days, remind yourself of this. Every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. Every time you choose yourself over their opinions, you win. Every time you focus on your growth instead of their indifference, you grow stronger. Imagine your life as a masterpiece in progress. Right now, it might feel messy, unfinished, chaotic, but that's how every masterpiece begins. The artist doesn't get it perfect on the first try. They make mistakes, add layers, change direction, and each layer, each stroke of the brush, brings the painting closer to completion. That's what you're doing. Layer by layer, step by step, you're creating something extraordinary. And here's the thing about masterpieces. They don't exist to be admired by everyone. They exist because the artist poured their soul into them, and you are both the artist and the masterpiece. You don't need their applause to validate your work. You don't need their approval to make it beautiful. You just need to keep creating, keep growing, keep becoming the person you were always meant to be. Let me leave you with this thought. Your worth has never been tied to their opinions. It has never depended on their acknowledgement. It exists because you exist. You are valuable because you are here, because you have something unique to offer the world, because you are irreplaceable. And the moment you truly believe that is the moment you become unstoppable. So let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward for strength. Let this be the moment you choose yourself, not because they finally noticed you, but because you finally noticed yourself. And when you do, you'll realize that the life you've been waiting for has been waiting for you all along. All you have to do is take it. Now, let's step into what happens when you fully embrace the person you're becoming. Picture yourself shedding the layers of doubt, fear, and hesitation that have weighed you down for so long. These layers are not part of who you are. They're the remnants of a story you no longer need to tell. You're stepping into a new chapter now, one where you're no longer defined by what others think of you or how they've treated you. This chapter is yours to write, and the pen is finally in your hands. When you stop living in reaction to the world around you, something extraordinary happens. You start creating. You create a vision for your future. You create goals that excite you, dreams that scare you, and plans that light a fire in your soul. And as you take those first steps toward that vision, you realize that you're not walking toward something. You're walking away from something too. You're walking away from the need for approval, from the cycle of self-doubt, from the fear of not being enough. But here's the secret. You've always been enough. You just didn't see it because you were too busy looking for someone else to tell you. You spent so much time waiting for validation from the outside world that you forgot the one person who truly needed to see your worth, yourself. And now, finally, you're starting to see it. The scales are falling from your eyes, and you're realizing that your value was never something anyone else could give you. It was always yours. As you grow into this new version of yourself, you start to notice a shift. The things that once consumed your energy, the overthinking, the doubts, the constant replaying of past hurts, begin to fade. They lose their power over you. It's not that the memories disappear, it's that they no longer define you. They become what they were always meant to be, lessons, not limitations. And those lessons, they've made you stronger. They've given you the tools to build a life that doesn't revolve around anyone else's opinions. They've taught you that rejection isn't the end of the road, it's a redirection. They've shown you that being ignored isn't a reflection of your worth. It's an opportunity to focus on what truly matters, your growth, your goals, your happiness. Think of it like this. You've been standing in front of a mirror, but the mirror was cracked. Every time you looked at yourself, you saw a distorted image, one shaped by their indifference, their rejection, their inability to see you. But now the cracks are mending. The reflection staring back at you is clearer, sharper, truer. And for the first time, you're seeing yourself as you really are, strong, capable, deserving. This clarity changes everything. It changes the way you walk into a room. You're no longer looking around, wondering who's noticing you. You're not scanning for approval or adjusting yourself to fit someone else's expectations. You walk in with purpose, with confidence, with a sense of belonging that comes from knowing you don't need anyone else's permission to be here. You start to realize that the people who truly matter will see you without you having to prove anything. They'll value you for who you are, not for what you can do for them or how you fit into their world. And the ones who don't see you, they were never meant to. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to convince them. You simply let them go, knowing that their absence makes room for something better. This is the power of focusing on yourself. It's not about becoming someone else's idea of perfect. It's about becoming the truest, most authentic version of you. And when you do, something magical happens. You stop attracting people who take you for granted, and you start attracting those who see your light and respect it. You stop settling for less than you deserve and start demanding more. Not with words, but with the way you carry yourself, the way you live your life, the way you show up for yourself every single day. So, as you step into this new chapter, remember this. You are not the opinions of others. You are not their rejection or their indifference. You are your actions, your choices, your resilience. You are the love you give to yourself, the dreams you chase, the life you create. And the moment you fully embrace that truth is the moment you become truly unstoppable.